right, got all of our lumber loaded up in a little trailer, all behind the Geo. Always got to stop at Harbor Freight because you never have too many ratchet straps. As the great one-legged Canadian once said,
that's just a good deal. $5. That's a good deal.
And yeah, it might be overweight, but that 3-cylinder can pull it no problem. Okay, so where we're starting out, we got 4 legs that are already cut. They are currently at 70 inches. We're going to make a mark 2 inches down and then 16 inches on center. And for me, because, you know, old days of being a framer, I will hold that back 3/4 of an inch. So that means the top edge of the cross beam is going to be on the edge of this line. This will be the center line. This is a nice reference line because we're going to pre-drill all of these before they get glued and screwed. So we're going to mark them 16 on center. So 16, 32, 48, and I can't do math. Could you not? I'm trying to shoot a video here. Okay, so we're pre-drilled on center. We have our top reference line. Now I've got some 21-inch pieces, and they're going to be centered there. And I'm about to go get the BB gun. Anyways, so these will get centered on there. These will get glued and screwed using the old tight bond and some 2.5-inch wood screws. So we're going to place them on every intersection on 2 legs and then flip the legs up and add the second rail. Okay, there we are. Glued and screwed. First one done. Now to make another. All right, we've got the 2 leg assemblies put together. Now we've got some 37 inchers that will get glued and screwed in between on the same line as each one of those horizontals to form the main frame. All right, so there's all the back pieces. Now we're gonna take and flip it over and do some more 37s across the front. Now, after cutting out our original 70-inch legs, then we had a 26-inch piece that we cut a 21 out of. We should have these 5-inch blocks left over. We're going to 45 the corners on both sides. And then here on the back wall, we're going to add those in, one on the short side. And we're going to throw another one in on the long side to help keep everything square as the glue is drying up. Okay, now each one of these cross pieces on the whole system, this is going to act as a shelf. And on that shelf is going to be the dropping tray. I don't have one to show you, but it does span this entire opening. So what we need to do now is add in some more 21-inch supports between these frame rails for that pan to sit on top of. So I'm going to cut 2. They're being placed 1 foot in from this inside edge to the inside edge of the board. And that will leave about roughly, you know, a foot gap in between them. Okay, and there we've got our main frame all set up. This is the view from the back side. That's why you can see the braces. Next thing we need to work on is start building the egg rollout trays. Up until this point, everything has been made of 2x2 furring strips using 2.5-inch screws, and every single joint is glued up. Now moving on to the egg rollouts, that will be made out of 1x2 with some glued joints and some not. I'll show you. Okay, so what we have here is 3 pieces cut at 27.5 inches. With a 5-degree angle on one end, and then 2 long runners that are exactly 37 inches. So what that's going to do with this board being on a 5-degree angle, when that is slid in, it will come up flush to the back and leave a 5-degree slope coming across the front of the cage. Let me show you how that works. So here you can see why we are 37 inches wide. We fit just within the frame walls, and it takes a 2x2 and a 1x2 stacked on the back so that this corner meets up nice and flush, because this whole back wall is going to get a solid plywood backer. So this will sit flush against the wall. There will be no gap for manure, feathers, anything else to get into, and it leaves us a nice 5-degree slope so that the eggs, which we haven't put the fencing wire on, that's the next thing. Once the frames are built, the wire will be on the bottom side. That one board in the middle, it's no big problem. The birds can hop right back and forth. It's a non-issue. but it needs to be there to support the wire so the wire doesn't dip down and sag. But once the wire is stretched on, which we'll do next, and it's sitting at this angle, every time a bird lays an egg, it will roll its way down, and the wall of the hutch will be right here. This will be exposed. I can walk up every day, pick up my eggs. Egg rollout trays. Very, very nice. We're going to build a wall structure right here, and it doesn't have to be stout or structural or anything. Its only purpose is so that we have something right here on the face to staple the wire onto. And to do that, we're going to need some 8.5-inch pieces and some 16-inch pieces. These guys are going to get glued and screwed, oops, my bad, in that fashion. And then this L-shaped frame can get screwed onto the main hutch. And just for reference, coming off of this point, your top of the wall should be at 10 inches. Coming off of the same point, the interior of your wall will land at 16 to position that L shape. Also, if you're going to prefab this into an L-shaped piece before you glue it in, I'd recommend not making the dum-dum that I just did. Start at the bottom and work your way up, because then you'll be able to run your screw in from the top every single time instead of having to face toe screw like I had to do, because I didn't think that far ahead. All right, now we got those corner walls on. We should have a gap between there and the far wall of 21 inches. So we're going to cut 2 boards at 20.5. We're going to take 2 more at 6 3/4, and we're going to build a box, and that is going to be our door frame. You can see it will sit level-ish once we have the hinges in place, and that gives the door plenty of room to swing, top, sides, and bottom, where it's going to clear out the egg rollout tray. Once we've got all of our doors made up, go ahead and cut a piece of 1/2-inch hardware cloth and just make it as close as you can, exact dimension as your door. And I'm using a Harbor Freight 18 gauge brad nailer stapler combo with some 5/8 staples, and I went about every 3 wires around the perimeter. This short of a span, we're not really worried about the wire being tight, but if you shoot the staple at just a little bit of an angle, it'll pull the wire and keep it pretty tight. Okay, so the next piece of wire we need to put down is on our egg rollout trays. A couple things to keep in mind. So this wire is overlapped in 2 different directions. This is going to be the bottom side of our egg rollout tray. And if you'll notice, hard for you guys to come up and see, but the wires that are running in this direction are on this side. And the reason we're going to do that is because once this tray is rolled over, once the eggs are laid, if the wire was in this orientation and an egg is laid right here, it's going to want to bump against each wire all the way, trying to get down to the face where the rollout tray actually allows you to pick them up. So if you put the long runners on the top side, that will encourage the eggs to roll that direction. Now, we just cut this to exact dimension of our egg rollout tray, and I'm going to start right here in the middle, and I'm going to tack this on the way out. That's going to anchor one side of the wire, and then we're going to actually tension the wire. I'll show you a trick to do that. Okay, now we've got this edge tacked. We've got a little flathead screwdriver here. I'm going to come down to this end. I'm going to try and keep the wire as square as I can. I'm going to go through the wire right here, and I'm going to pull tension, not much, it doesn't take much, and then tack it down, going down the middle. Except that my stapler jammed. So, we'll be right back. Got that jam cleared out. Pull a little bit of tension. And it doesn't take much to break this wire, so just a little bit is all it needs. So yeah, now we've got this tensioned here. We're going to work our way up. We're going to hit this side, and then we're going to use the same method and tension the middle on both sides and get that stapled down. Also notable, by far, tin snips, straight cut, absolute best thing to use for cutting that hardware cloth. But I would recommend wearing gloves because she gets a bit on the pokey side. So now I've got some of the only finest that Amazon carries. I've got a cross bolt latch, and I've got some generic hinges. I'm mounting mine 1 inch in from inside wall, and it is much easier to do as much of this on the bench as you can, so that when you go to hang it up, you only have to worry about setting your gap, which I set mine at about 1/8 of an inch. And there's a 1/4 inch gap here, 1/4 inch gap here. That makes my bottom line up if I need to do any access work. And once the floor gets screwed into place, it will sit right there. So there's only enough room for the eggs to come out. No birds are going to get out through there. So setting this gap right here can be an absolute turd. And I'm sure most of you heard the saying, many hands make light work. Well, I've only got two, and one of them's holding the camera. So if I'm trying to hold a screw, itty bitty little thing like that, and run the screw gun and keep this gap, many hands would make much lighter work. These little cheapo clamps you can get from like Home Depot, once you set your first one, just give this just a touch on either side and set up both your clamps, and then you can use it to hang your door, and it will hold the door at the 1/8 inch gap that you want while you go ahead and slam the screws home. All right, got our doors all hung on there. Next thing we need to do is mount up our egg trays. So from this point here on the back, I'm gonna measure up 3.5 inches, scribe a line on the inside right here. And then from here up, we're gonna measure 2 3/16, scribe a line on the inside. That's gonna represent the bottom of the egg tray once it's on its slope. Then we're gonna take a 21 inch piece, and we're going to span that difference so that when the egg tray is up in its resting position, it covers that opening. That'll give us something out here on the outside edge to staple to, and that will also make it that there's not an 1.5 inch gap right here that the birds could potentially fall through. Got that 21 inch piece glued and screwed on both ends, and this is where the egg rollout tray will sit. That corner's sitting down right now, but don't worry about that. Just illustrating here, so we're gonna have a screw about here and a screw about here that will hold these two together. These are not glued. The reason being, if ever I need to get in here and replace the wire or do any maintenance on the egg rollout tray, it's gonna be 2 screws on each side, and the whole tray slides out. Also, you may have noticed we're running regular galvanized wire up here, and we're running coated wire on the bottom. The reason I'm doing that, this whole entire build is based off of the one from Coturnix Corner, and he is using this on his floors because he had issues with sores on his quail's feet from the galvanized wire, whether that's galvanizing hanging off or little burrs, whatever. We're gonna run the PVC on the bottom, make it nice and easy on those birds' feetsies. Got both of our side pieces glued and screwed on the ends. You can see we are lifted up, touching there. We're on our 3.5 inch mark back there. 2 screws to hold everything in place. So that acts as the floor. Now, the way I set it up, I want the door to just tickle it when it closes. Still, it almost swings freely. But I want to minimize that gap. Well, you have no depth perception when you're trying to film. I want to minimize this gap as much as I can. So it's currently 1.5 inches. Now, because I'll be raising jumbo coturnix, they shouldn't be able to get out of here. But because this is going to be an outdoor hutch, I am going to end up building a small cover that goes over the top of this. On the off chance that a bird tries to crawl out, is not going to have nowhere to go. I have a nice cover right there. So that's where the egg rollout tray will sit. You see where we can collect our eggs every morning. Hi, Buck. What are you doing? Fat, lazy orange cat. Anyways, so I'm going to repeat that 3 more times. Now, it is worth noting, my top 2 cages probably are only going to be my breeders. The third one down, they're going to be laying eggs, but they're going to be younger birds, and it's going to be the youngest birds on the bottom. So there's no real purpose in putting an egg laying tray down there. So I'm probably just going to block off that opening, because those birds will, they'll be very young. They'll be coming right out of the brooder into here, And I intend on probably at about 6 weeks, they're going to rotate up when I butcher birds that are in this one. So you could do a flat bottom on that one. It'd be totally fine. But I'm just following directions from Coturnix Corner, and it will have an egg rollout too. Maybe I build another brooder, or not a brooder, but another hutch that's only flat bottom for young birds, and I keep this one just for my layers and my breeders. I don't know, but I'd rather have the egg rollout tray already built. I'm still waiting on the other two of these trays from the parts store. Ordered them in yesterday. Should be here. Hopefully I can pick them up after work tomorrow. And I need to pick up one more stick of 2x2 to finish up these pocket pieces on these two bottom ones, and then I can put those egg trays in. And then we can string wire on the sides. And pretty much the last thing is going to be the plywood backer that goes onto this. But I'm not going to put that on just yet, because as it is, I can take these droppings trays out and everything can be painted. I'm also going to paint the plywood, so this is super easily cleanable. Okay, we're on to the painting stage, and of course, cleaned up my work area here. All those scraps, never going to go to waste. When you own a wood gasifier, she's always hungry. Okay, dum-dum number 2. If you intend on painting this, because the build series I'm following from Coturnix Corner, his is not painted. He just takes it every couple months and pressure washes it. I wanted to seal it off, so basically poop doesn't stain it. If you're going to paint it, unless you intend on rattle bombing it, for the love of God, paint it before you put the wire on. Because trying to do that with a brush, that ain't it. My wife gave up after about 15 minutes, and well, here we are. But it's getting painted now, so paint it before you put the wire on. Now, I totally forgot to video, but all of the wire, this is just 16-inch strips. Same method we used, stapling it down for the egg rollout trays, and just all the way down to the bottom. The doors are already done. This front face, cut it to size, staple it on. Super simple. And then I've got just a solid backer piece of plywood, scribed lines across where my cross members are, so I can hit my screw lines all the way across. And so that's all done. I did paint that before I put it on, because I realized my mistake with the rest of it. Now this is really designed more for being an indoor hutch, having a flat roof, but mine will be outdoors because I have an overhang where it will be sitting, but I'll have to do some type of roofing up there, probably just a little piece of metal, and also the water bucket is going to sit up there. But that, the whole watering system, automatic watering system, and the feeders will be in the next video. So I got one more coat of paint to go on this, and obviously a couple spots that I missed. Oops. Yeah, watering system will be in the next video along with the feeders, and then we'll get this thing in position and it will be ready for the chicks, of which are in here in the brooder, hanging out, doing their thing. By the time to change out their blue paper towels. Got 2 feeders, 2 waters, heat lamp over there. Everybody's doing good. We hatched out a total of 36. We did lose 1 in the brooder. Not totally sure what happened, so we're at 35. And these guys are currently 4 days old, growing like weeds. It is incredible how much feed and water they go through. So the brooder is working out good. Running them on 30% protein game bird starter, Purina, because that's what Tractor Supply had, because my local feed store didn't have anything suitable, which is a bit of a bummer, but is what it is. So anyways, these guys in a couple weeks, they're ready to go in their new home. we'll see you guys in the next video when we build the watering system in the feeder. So I want to thank you guys for watching the whole build series that will be completed in the next video for the Quail Hutch. Yeah, time to go burn some wood chunks in the wood burner because we got scraps from making this thing. So might as well go enjoy a drive in the mountains. Thanks for watching. See you next time.